Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. We are virtual only. We're based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We do the thought behind the thought, the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know. As things are changing in the world, what do you need to know? What's your reality going to be? We'll cover that today. What's your existence going to be like? We solve little pieces. This is going to be more Revelation 9 today, solving little pieces. We'll call it spiritual portals. Some things seem to be opening. I'm arguing that you're being conditioned to accept the supernatural and reject God. So we'll see if I'm correct with that assumption. So, the big news that has less to do with this, it just means in terms of timing and time of. Kushner reveals Trump's vision. 10 countries will join the Abraham Accords after Saudi Arabia. I told the Biden administration that the agreement with Saudi Arabia could be reached within 3 to 6 months. That sounds like the Brit of Daniel 9:27. Okay, and so 10 nations is interesting because that is a minion in Hebrew thought, in Jewish thought, Orthodox Judaism. And so 10 men. That's based on Genesis 18 and Abraham saying, God, with Sodom and Gomorrah, if there are 10 men, will you save it? And well, so basically, this relates to peace and safety by possibly the fall festivals of next year, Tishri of 2025. Very interesting. So things are happening faster, and we need to be aware that our reality is being broken down. AI is breaking it down. Other people, like the ones pictured here, are breaking it down. And God is also going to interject his holiness into the world too. So it's not just the evil. Okay, so why are the spiritual portals opening and the dimensional barriers shifting? Because we're on the edge of the end of days, people. It's that soon. Okay, we're not going to have a Mars attacks or the War of the Worlds or anything like that, but there will be supernatural battles. It'll be huge. So are these mysterious drones a prelude to an alien invasion? No, they've been here the whole time, and I'll argue the supernatural barriers were broken down in Genesis 3. Okay, God built it that way in the first place. So I've been involved in attacks over the years, and basically I'm saying that they are sporadic at times. They're going to increase dramatically as we go forward. The orbs and the drones are a sign of upcoming unseen spiritual battles. Yes, this is an introduction to the openly manifesting demons and godliness too. I mean, it's not just going to be demonology, it's going to be studying God. And so the purpose of these videos has always been for you to read your Bible more and deepen your faith. Okay, so increase your faith or be overwhelmed. Goals: humans will surrender their seed and nephesh. That's our salvation, we'll call it, even though that's technically the animal soul. It is your salvation point for world peace. Okay, that's what I see the trade-off occurring, will occur at some point in time. So we're going to enter into this Nephilim, this hybrid type of a situation, and where the other beings, the ones that are coming from another dimension, will offer a fake peace, and they'll want to trade seed. It's coming, but there will be no War of the Worlds. It'll be a kind of a coy war, more of a supernatural war. Okay, so this is from my competition, we'll call it, and I don't really have competition, but they're the pre-trib rapture people. So harbingers, I don't read their stuff very often. This one made me laugh just because it's so pathetic. These are just boring news events that can be gleaned by any 4-year-old when they read the newspaper. Saudi Arabia, Israel peace. Okay, oh boy. Next meeting June 2 through 4, 2025, at the UN. Okay, fine. Number 2, Donald Trump's reelection. Well, we know that. A desire for the third temple. Everybody knows that. The continuing attacks against Israel increases desire for peace and safety. Okay, nothing new there. Fall of Syria, ISIS, Al Qaeda, the new phase of terrorism and things like that. UN 2.0. I mean, this is 4-year-old stuff. Okay, national debt. Yes, it's up to 36 trillion. NATO's permission for Ukraine to fire missiles into Russia. Biden's deep strikes within Russia. Okay, sure, that's number 7. What about the big things? The UFOs, the drones, the orbs that are flying around. What about the cosmic signs, the auroras and things like that? What about pole flip? It's so obvious now. It's like the nose in your face. What about the West falling? And that is prophetic. That's the first seal, I believe. Churchianity is falling. Well, they can't talk about that because they're part of churchianity. They're generally part of big reformed or big Calvary Chapel. The supernatural battles, they really don't talk about it much because they don't believe in God that way. They're more cessationist, okay? And I'm a continuationist. That means God's gifts continue on all the way through. They're clueless. So that's what I'm dealing against. So now we're going to go into the part of the video that I need to talk about, and that is there was one dimension in the Garden of Eden because Adam and Eve could walk with God and communicate directly with God. So we are being conditioned to accept the supernatural. Adam and Eve didn't need to be conditioned. They were already in that condition because they had never sinned. And so then the nachash showed up. So this is from Genesis 3, 1 through 4. Now the serpent, the nachash, I want you to see that in the text, was more crafty than any wild animal which Adonai God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say, 'You are not to eat from any tree in the garden'?" The woman answered the serpent, "We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden, God said, 'You are neither to eat from it nor to touch it, or you will die.'" Well, they didn't die right away, but they did die. They started the dying process after this. So they saw the Nakash. I'm arguing he wasn't really, he might have been serpent like, but he was probably shiny. He was definitely not human. And it was in the same dimension. So God put up these dimensional barriers after that, a veil to protect us from his fire, we'll call it, okay? Because God is light and fire. Okay, so then continuing on with Genesis 3, the serpent said to the woman, "It is not true that you will surely die, because God knows," and that's yada, which is kind of like making love and things like that. It's a deeper than just know, okay? That on the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing yada, again, good and evil. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and it was pleasing in appearance, and that the tree was desirable for making one wise, that's a call. That's an interesting word from Daniel 12. She took some of its fruit and ate. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. And so he was with her, and the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized, yada again, that they were naked. And so they sewed fig leaves together. So it's interesting how the yada is knowing, okay, knowing of. And I see the picture up there of the Satan with the horns and everything like that. No, he's probably beautiful, shiny, maybe a little bit serpent-like, but definitely very, very shiny. I'll show you the pictures that I like in just a moment. So there's the pictures that I would say was more like what he looked like. I believe that Satan, based on Isaiah 14, was in the face of God. And so, therefore, God is light, and really there's fire everywhere up there. That he would have been incredibly bright, shining. Okay, the shining one is how I describe it. So, I'm curious about the recent orbs and UFOs. I wonder if they're from angels, fallen angels, or humans. Per 1 Kings 22:22, God can use any of his host to move humans into battles and prevent battles. My thought is that the creature from the Garden of Eden wasn't a serpent. Might have been, but might not. The way I read it, Nakash is the shining one. Let's assume Satan is the cherub, the covering angel of God himself. God is awesome light. That means the Satan would reflect the light. If the Satan entered the garden, he would reflect light, hence Nakash. Okay? So that's the direction I go with Genesis 3, that he was more of a shiny being of some sort. Okay? So let's go to the second time now that we have had this barrier between the spiritual realm and humans opened up. I argue it's Babylon. Doug Hamp is an expert at that. I gig out with him on Thursday nights on Prophecy Roundtable. What I believe is that these are creatures that people in the ancient Near East occult were able to see in the spiritual realm. I don't think they actually encountered these creatures in real life. Doug explains, but they drew pictures of these strange creatures that remind you of the Garden of Eden or remind you of Revelation 9, okay? And we'll get to 9 in just a little bit here. So Doug continues, they were potentially created by him, by God. If you look at the cherubim and these creatures that they had a lot of similarities. For example, they have the face of a man and the face of a lion. And we know that's from Ezekiel. And we know that the cherubim definitely had that. And if you look at the temple in the latter part of Ezekiel, you'll find that inside the temple, where the cherubim with the face of the man and the lion are, so that's Doug again. And so you see these pictures, these odd little creatures from Babylon, and it seems like That was the second time. And Heiser agrees with this too, that there are these various falls that occurred, and Babylon seems to be one of those falls, that Genesis 10 time frame. So more pictures from Babylon of these strange creatures that remind you either of the cherubim or of the serpent in the Garden of Eden or of Revelation 9. So the guy on the right-hand side is more Revelation 9. And what I'm arguing is that the veil is thinning, and this is on purpose. We're being conditioned to accept the supernatural, like the Garden of Eden, which was God's plan, and then the separation after that. Then Babylon seemed to have that realm opened up again, okay? And then it closed down again. And there was probably another fall there. But you can see the beings from Babylon, and very interesting, kind of nachash-like, okay? Shiny and strange. So are those portals reopening? I don't know. I know that the Pope is going to open 5 sacred portals on Christmas. I'll show you the picture in a little bit. It's rather odd, this is from Israel 365 News, that we're being conditioned to accept the supernatural, okay? And this is again from Doug Hamp, and he points out the location, which is interesting, Gilgal Rephaim. Rephaim is a giant from the Old Testament, and so there might be a portal there near Babylon, okay? And so he studied this for years. So no, that is what is interesting. They must have been seen through demonic means into the other side of the veil. They could see the spiritual beings and then drew them, as an artist would. And then God showed some creatures, the same creatures, to John in Revelation. That's what Doug's arguing. It's possible. It makes sense. So here's the picture from the Pope opening up these portals, and there's the 5 of them, and they look like the sigil of Lucifer, of the light bringer. It looks rather satanic, and so he's opening up the 5 portals, and the Pope will be performing a ritual of opening the 5 sacred portals on Christmas Eve. When mapped out, these portal doorways create the sigil of Lucifer. Very interesting. That sounds a lot like Isaiah 14. So are people opening up the portals? Are we being conditioned to accept the supernatural? That's the point of the video. And also deconditioned to access God. So Henry Groover, this is from last week, but again here, Henry Groover says, fallen angels chained beneath the streets of Rome. Very interesting. So now we'll compare and contrast those pictures that you've seen and what Henry just mentioned with Revelation 9. The 5th angel sounded his shofar, and I saw a star that had fallen out of heaven onto the earth, and he was given the key to the shaft leading down to the abyss. He opened the shaft of the abyss, and there went up smoke from the shaft, like the smoke of a huge furnace. The sun was darkened, and the sky too, by the smoke of the shaft. Then out of the smoke onto the earth came locusts, and they were given power like the power scorpions have on earth. And so what I'm arguing is that we're being conditioned for this to occur in the future. So there was the condition in the Garden of Eden, the condition during Babylon, during Nimrod's time. And Nimrod could have been a nachash, people. He could have been. He's kind of described that way in chapter 10 of Genesis, okay? But we're being conditioned for what's going forward here, which is the 5th shofar, the 5th trumpet, okay? So that's a very accurate description of what we'll see. Women's hair, crown on the head, lion's teeth, face like a, I don't know, kind of a hybrid. The wings, the whole weird look. That was made by AI, by Grok. Okay, but we're being conditioned for a fake alien invasion. And Dr. Vernon Brown from World War II, and he was on the Nazi side. He's a bad man, but he said we're being conditioned for this. There are a few conditions that have been going on over the years. So he's the head of the Nazi rocket program during World War II. Von Braun was brought to America after the war to become a part of the foundation of NASA. And in 1974, Von Braun told his assistant, Dr. Carol Rosin, R-O-S-I-N, I guess it is, that we had already had the technology to build anti-gravity vehicles, and that they were already plan to use fake alien invasion as a false flag operation to bring a global government. That's possible. It appears that Rosen and Van Braun believed that the existence of aliens, but they knew that the elite has a plan to fake the invasion, the Luciferian NWO, order will use a combination of secret technology, genetically altered beings, demonic activity to simulate an invasion. This will be one of the great deceptions used to bring about the global government prophesied in the Bible. That seems to make sense. That seems like Revelation 9 in some ways, that we're being set up to accept this, to be conditioned to the blurring of these dimensions. Okay, this is another picture of Revelation 9, a different type of a look with the woman's hair, the crown, the tails that should be attached but aren't. That's AI. That's Grok again. But it's interesting to see how Grok described this or picture this. Okay, so I'm arguing that Revelation 9 occurs before the pole shift, but this is Isaiah 24, just to give you an idea of what's coming after Revelation 9. The earth cracks and breaks open. The earth crumbles into pieces. The earth trembles and totters. The earth staggers to and fro like a drunk, always back and forth like a watchman's shelter. Its transgression weighs heavy upon it. It will fall and not rise again. When that day comes, Adonai will punish the armies. That's the fallen angels, I argue, of the high heaven. That's Marom. And so that's Ha-Marom, area up to the moon, on the high, Ba-Marom, so in the Marom. So this region of space that the fallen angels already are in. And then also the kings of the earth on the earth. Notice the specificity of where human kings are located and that they're earthbound. They will be assembled like prisoners in a dungeon. That's Bor, and that's similar to the abyss in Revelation 9, and shut up in prison to be punished many years. So it's very interesting how these things back and forth just sound like the same thing. Okay? And so this is the sacred portals again from the Pope. And so this is an article from Sanhedrin 98A that I clipped out describing what's going on with the St. Peter's Basilica and opening up the portals and things like that. When will the Son of David come? Rabbi Yosei ben Kisma said, I am hesitant to answer you lest you request from me a sign to corroborate my statement. They said to him, we are not asking you for a sign. Rabbi ben Kisma said to them, you will see when the existing gate of Rome falls and will be rebuilt, and will fall a second time and will be rebuilt, and fall a third time, and they will not manage to rebuild it until the Son of David comes. We seem close, people. It seems like these gates are crashing down and we're blurring between the dimensions. So, the giants are coming back based on Revelation 9, and odd things with the earth based on Isaiah 24. So are we coming up to the time of Mars attacking? No, not really. That's, good fiction. It's interesting that it's New Jersey and the orbs tend to be centered around New Jersey. And why is Elon silent during this time frame, and what is the Pope working on? And so it's just interesting to note it's like the Simpsons episodes where they're prophesying in some ways. So what about the mysterious drone flights that the Pentagon says has no connection? It's illogical. I'm telling you, people, they're blurring the lines. They're conditioning us for the supernatural. And that's why I wrote my book trilogy to be War of the Unseen Worlds trilogy. Yeah, that's what we're coming into. Not the War of the Worlds, War of the Unseen Worlds. It's a supernatural battle. That's what's happening going forward. So, a couple of articles, and then we'll get back to prophecy, and I think you'll like the prophecies. NASA astronaut spots two metallic spherical orbs flying by his plane over Texas. This is a good pilot, and he's a smart guy, and he's a NASA vet, okay, Leroy Chow. And on the right-hand side, then, it wasn't on my radar. No air traffic control person. They didn't alert me. It wasn't on my display that shows other airplanes. And these were metallic orbs, okay? And so what date was this? This is dated the 21st of December. That's recent history, okay? So basically, they just whizzed by his plane, and he was probably flying a prop plane. But anyway, regular guy, smart guy, and he's willing to come out and admit it. That's very interesting to see. We see these metallic orbs all over the world, Dr. Kirkpatrick told NASA's UFO advisory group last year. And we see these making very interesting apparent maneuvers. Okay? Just file it away, Joe Rogan left stunned as Navy pilot reveals secret tech powering drones over New Jersey. So once again, New Jersey seems to be the location. So the pilot pointed out how objects are not behaving like normal aircraft, such as their high G-force maneuvers that include sharp turns, climbs, and dives. Then they remain in the area for another 5, 6, or 7 hours, longer than battery life, and still have battery life or whatever's propelling them to then go over the ocean to a point where they're untrackable again and drop into the ocean, which is impossible. What I'm trying to show you here is it's not human, not human, not human. Okay? Graves became a household name in the UAP world in 2023 when he became the first active duty pilot to come forward publicly about the regular sightings of UAPs. Interesting. Mail Online from the 18th of December 2024. Okay, this is old, but it's interesting. This is 2016 fascinating orb-like UFOs spotted dancing over Mexican volcano and live stream footage after a violent eruption. Okay, if they're human-made, they're going to melt over the volcano, but they don't. Okay, so once again, not human, not human. Alex Jones on the right-hand side from 12 of 2024. UAP, UFO invasion has been solved. Orwellian legislation now, yeah, whatever. Okay, so he's going to go a different direction on this. I'm telling you that this has not been solved and that it is not human. Okay, you've seen this last week. This is the same article, Squawk, and from TikTok that shows the drones coming out of the ocean, okay? Entering the ocean, coming out of the ocean, things like that. Very odd. And so this is consistently not human, okay? Once again, New Jersey again. This is from Gateway Pundit, and this is fairly recent, December 20th. New Jersey residents near drone hotspots report strange water tasting, weird smelling water, strange tasting water. Problems were at the Raritan system, drones flying over reservoirs, spraying stuff. Go figure. Yep. Guess what happens when drones are seen spraying everywhere, including water reservoirs? Yeah, this is the problem. The water tastes weird, and something's going on. Okay, now, this is what I'm arguing that is different than most people. This is an old article again. This is from 2010. It's my theory that WW3 can't occur until God the Father permits it during the end of days. We may jostle for nuclear war, but it's his call. So this is from, once again, September 28th of 2010 from CBS. And I have the link actually down below. So basically, they're aware of the existence of the UFOs and their ability to neutralize American and Russian nuclear missiles. UFO researcher Robert Hastings of Albuquerque, who organized the National Press Club briefing, said more than 120 former service members had told him they'd seen unidentified flying objects near nuclear weapon storage and testing grounds. Stars and Stripes quoted former Air Force Captain Robert Salas, who was at the Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana in 1967, when 10 ICBMs he was overseeing suddenly became inoperative. At the time, the base security informed him of a mysterious red glowing object in the sky. Robert Jameson, a retired USAF nuclear missile targeting officer, told several occasions having to go out and restart missiles that had been deactivated after UFOs were sighted nearby. There's something, we used to blame the Russians for all of this. I think it's UFOs, people. I think it's God sending out either the good guys or the bad guys based on 1 Kings 22:22, that God has his host and he can send them out and stop a war if he wants to. The war has to occur when the war has to occur, okay? And God's in control of that. Okay, so this guy is Dark Journalist. That's the only name that we have for him. He was on Alex Jones the other day, and he shows a picture of the UFO test from 1990. And so this is, once again, Alex Jones historic footage. So basically, and then over the U.S. Capitol in 1953. So he calls the apothelium effect blackouts, missed time, electric failure, animals disappear, nuke weapon failure, alarming symptoms. Nothing grows there anymore when the UFOs pass by. This guy is Chase Hughes, and he's arguing differently. The problem is, when I listen to his arguments about this, he isn't willing to admit that they're not human, okay? And he's not willing to admit much about God. It's a good article. My friends passed it around to me, and I listened to it. But once again, no heat signature, not human. Go dark and disappear when approached, not human. Are coming in and out of the ocean, not human. Bright lights saying, hey, notice me. Not smart if you're human. Worldwide, not human. Able to negate nukes, not human. Continuing on the right-hand side, this guy, Chase Hughes, doesn't believe in the supernatural power of God. He's attempting to be logical. We are not in logical times right now. These are theological and eschatological times. He's searching for, propaganda and things like that. He's hoping to engage conspiracy theorists, which is a hot market right now. And he's talking about mindfulness, but that isn't godliness. Creating a group of strong believers is better than protecting your mindset. What is the end game? Regardless of Trump's victory, the beast system will be built. It is being built, and it will be deployed against us. The time you're entering will be Joel 2:28 through 32, which is the gifts of the Spirit of God. Acts 2, the same thing. So trust God to lead you. Aliens are making contact. He overlooks the extra dimensional beings. So they always want to say they're otherworldly from another solar system. No, they're just an extra dimensional being, okay? And they're demonic. And they've been around, as I argued, since the Garden of Eden, since the nachash in Genesis 3. The Bible tells us in Revelation 9 that the supernatural beings will plague the ungodly. So be godly and wear the seal of God, whatever that happens to be. For now, that seems to be spirit and truth. So actually believing that God gifts you, and then the Torah, the Bible. Okay, Yeshua is returning soon. A remnant will survive. Each day of life is a gift from God, so thank Him. So this is a Yale guy. He's a little bit bizarre. He's friendly with the Kennedy family. Santa Trump. Pay very close attention, people, to Danny Sheehan, the attorney for the Disclosure Project, Yale University speech. The existence of extraterrestrial civilization. They seem to be preparing now to potentially intervene to directly stop thermonuclear war. The intervention is going to reveal their presence. He's very correct with that. He is. That's biblical, believe it or not. So let's continue on. This is from Project Constitution. The military is lying to us. Yes, absolutely. They've been for 50, 60 years. These drones have been conducting recon missions at bases globally. Despite being labeled as harmless or unidentified, the military knows their purpose is nefarious. Strict orders not to engage. Well, that's what they're saying. Military personnel are eager to act but are restrained by direct orders. Unmatched technology. These drones don't emit heat signatures. They aren't running on Saturn batteries or gasoline, given their ability to outlast military jets. One drone had a fighter jet on a 400-mile chase before the jet had to turn back due to fuel depletion. They scan buildings, including munitions hangars, mapping out corners as if probing their contents. I'm telling you, it's supernatural. Okay, so we should prepare for a larger attack. Spiritually, yes, but not physically. There will not be a war of the worlds. Preparing for a larger attack, okay? A coordinated strike, other things like that. No. Expect spiritual attacks and deception. That's biblical, okay? The world isn't getting worse or darker. The veil sheltering you from reality is lifting. Absolutely. So, Elon Musk is calling it summoning the demon. AI is summoning the demon, but others are summoning the demons too. So whether you like or hate Elon Musk or Sam Altman or the other people, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, they're pledging tons of cash to build these AI systems, and they are summoning the demons. But that's what most people are right now. They're blurring these lines between dimensions and other things like that. So they're preparing us for a Neuralink. They're preparing us. I'm not sure how to define a spiritual portal or what occurs when one opens. I'm claiming the human and spiritual dimensions are blurring, and I'm not sure what or how that happens or appears in the natural. I don't know what we will see and experience other than what's biblical. That's about it. Okay, so Doug wrote the book Corrupting the Image. We are created by God, and people are trying to blur our lines and corrupt our images of God. So that would be Genesis 1:26 through 27, where we are built in the image of God. And unfortunately, people are trying to redesign life, as The Economist states, and editing humanity and things like that. So this is from Sassy Red Sox, and they're trying to build it back better, but many of these people are psychopaths. Okay, so prophecy. We're going to jump into prophecy now. I want to give you the warning first before I jump in. This is Stan Johnson. He runs Prophecy Club, and he never just gives you the prophecy. He has to make money off you and sell you stuff. Okay, so if you're going to buy prepping food, don't buy it from Stan. He's trying to make money off what we're doing here, and that's not the point of this. The point is to get you to read your Bibles and increase your faith. So Stan, if I had a chance to slap your hand, I would, or spank your rear end, because it's always been about cash, and that's obviously his daughter and his son-in-law that are running the organization, and he tries to teach, but he'd rather make money, and he's just always so stinking greedy. Okay, when will America be weak and helpless? That's the point of these last slides in the prophecies. Wilkerson prophecy. The government may fall, meaning it will fall because whenever he says something may happen, it's his way, Wilkerson's way, of saying he's prophesying it. He said the Russians will strike because they will be terrorized by what is happening in America. Dudeman said the government will be busy with internal problems of revolution when the Russians strike. The last thing the Russians will allow for is an insane leftist government to take control of the nukes again, given their experience with the Ukraine war. I believe that it will be there will be a time that they will strike. So essentially, they're both saying the same thing. If that happens under Trump, I believe it will. Then we'll have less than 4 years. This is coming from my friend Don, but he's basically working off the Wilkerson prophecy. So that means Putin will probably continue on, and Trump won't last his full term. Okay. So this is Dudeman's picture in the upper left-hand side and the attack zones that he stated. Dudeman said the communists will be fighting against Trump, we believe. Now, that's in brackets. It's logical that it's the Trump government, so they won't be fighting against the communist Democrat government. They will be fighting against Trump's government, and they'll probably be 3 times crazier than they were the first time, so no wonder Wilkerson said the Russians will be terrorized by what they see happening in America. So they push the button to nuke. Okay, so this is from Don again. And he's an aggregator. He's a brilliant guy, and he's my archivist for Wilkerson, Dudeman, and other prophecies. So Wilkerson on the left-hand side in 1986. I see a plague coming on the world, and the bars and the church and the government will shut down. The plague will hit New York City and shake it like it has never been shaken. The plague is going to force prayerless believers into radical prayer and into the Bibles and repentance, and there will be a cry from the man of God in the pulpit, and out of it will come a third great awakening that will sweep America and the world. On the right-hand side, these Wilkerson prophecies should happen first. Financial holocaust, runaway inflation, food shortages and starvation, unbelievable violence beyond anything we've seen, crippling earthquakes, and then the Civil War, during which we are helpless and nuked by Russia. I see it more likely as during the Civil War, the Russians will be terrorized and seen a lazy, crazy leftist government getting their hands on the nukes, and they will do a preemptive strike if they think Trump's government might lose. That's Don again, but citing Wilkerson. So the great Holocaust follows an economic collapse. In America, the enemy will make its move when we are weak and helpless. That's from Wilkerson's book. Wilkerson said the economic Holocaust happens, and then the Civil War. Here he is saying that during that time, as Dudeman said, we will be nuked. That's Don again, of course. And then I'm citing, and he's citing in part, this is all based on Ezekiel 14. For everyone, whether from the house of Israel or a foreigner, that's a ger, and that's everybody, okay, that believes in God. Everybody living in Israel who separates himself from me and takes his idols into his heart, thus setting in front of himself the stumbling block that leads to sin. For here is what Adonai Elohim says, even if I inflict my 4 dreadful judgments on Jerusalem, sword, famine, wild animals, and plagues, to eliminate both its humans and animals, there will still be left a remnant in it to be brought out. Ezekiel 14. Nice. Okay, this is from Sarah Adams, who used to be a targeting officer with the CIA, and so she believes the global cabal has planned chaos coming. They won't relinquish their one world government without a fight. So she's citing there will be embassy attacks in 2025 or a homeland attack or both. So the attacks are coming. There will not be super nuke attacks until the end, but there will be smaller skirmishes and attacks, like she said. And so this is Wilkerson's quote, "The Lord is always speaking to his faithful remnant. Throughout history, God has always sent prophets with a warning to wake up his sleeping bride. He reveals the lateness of the hour in such warnings in order to wake up the slumbering ministry and church." Interesting. So Last little area here that kind of is from Don, but it's citing Wilkerson and Dudeman. Food will be the most valuable thing. And then he stopped himself and he said, I don't want to say anything more because some people will be creating businesses out of it. That's Michael Boldea, rather, who was the grandson of Dimitri Duduman. And he's warning indirectly against Stan, who immediately heard those words and said, oh, food is the most valuable thing. I'm going to go make some money off food. And that's not what you're supposed to do. But food, like 25-year food, will be worth more than gold or silver by far, Don says, based off Wilkerson and Dudeman. Okay. On the right-hand side, based on precursors and analytics, the billionaires will move their money around prior to the big fall. What have my savvy friends done? Well, they've moved everything out of the American markets. They'll jump back in for the oil and the energy market because that's going to be hot under Trump. So because Trump is tempting, they'll dump cash into risky energy markets. Trump will protect the investments to encourage huge energy investments. The smart money will pull out of Germany, then Japan, then wait. America should fall last, based on Wilkerson. Energy will drive a quick surge of cash, but debt and inflation, the third seal, will overwhelm everything in the end. So where are we at? We're in the birth pangs. We are not in the tribulation. We're not in the great tribulation. We seem to be in the fourth seal. We're close to the sixth seal, potentially. Okay? And so you need to work on you. There's a wedding coming up. You can't be naked. You need good, clean clothing. So it's going to be on some fall festival coming up. Get some garments that are clean. Get them washed in the blood of Yeshua. It's a wedding. Get ready for the wedding. Be blessed. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully we'll talk to you again next week. God bless.